House with Paul Rosen.
Our diets, our Western diets in America are just really, you just don't realize how poor they really are.
What would you say to others who would like to feel better?
Sometimes you need to find the instruction. That's where the testing and everything comes in, because without that knowledge, there's no way I could have got to the point where I'm at today.
Straight talk about health.
And then I start preaching and telling them what I've been doing. And this guy named Paul Rosen has changed my life.
With your host, Paul Rosen.
By the way, the information contained in this program is not approved by the FDA, nor intended to treat, diagnose, or claim to cure any medical condition or disease as defined by Western medicine. However, skilled practitioners of many disciplines have found nutrition response testing to be a highly reliable, supportive technology for assessing the health and fitness of the body's functional system.
So, Paul, you get into your 40s or maybe younger, and your health is shot. You find yourself not able to function well every day. You're pretty much collapsing all at once. You should just give up, right?
Absolutely.
You should
There
just
is
not
no
hold out any hope whatsoever.
Of course not.
What this program is about is, if you find yourself in a situation like that, making yourself better.
Yeah, I mean, I thought we would start this show at our brand new home with just kind of introducing, start with a story.
So I know part of your story. I know you reached a certain point in your life where things weren't going well for you.
So once upon a time, there was this young man, and he was 45 years old, living his life, enthusiastic, taking part in, life in general, very active, very upbeat. And one day, he found himself completely incapacitated, unable to get out of bed without assistance. He was experiencing just a crazy amount of symptoms, such things as irregular heart rhythms, panic attacks, digestive issues.
These were very serious issues. And how did you get there, Paul? You are speaking of yourself. Let's not be
You gave it away.
Here. I did. Sorry.
As usual.
I gave away your punchline there. But you are speaking of yourself. You reached a point at about age 45 where your health was really terrible. Was this due just to the normal aging process, or were you somebody who practiced a whole bunch of bad habits?
Absolutely not. It wasn't about the aging process, as it turned out, going back to the story. So, irregular heart rhythms, digestive complaints of all sorts, deep fatigue, feeling of literally, my wife had to help me from bed to the bathroom or bed to a chair if I wanted to, sit or lie in a different place.
Had these symptoms manifested themselves at any time earlier in your life, or as you got into your 40s, was this all new? Did this happen gradually, or was there more or less suddenly this cascade of issues?
Well, in hindsight, it's a really good question. In hindsight, there were things that were happening, but I just sort of attributed them to, I had a lot of changes going on in my life, if you will, a lot of stress. And I attributed, some of these digestive changes, for example, and the feeling of overall body weakness and fatigue to that. I had just gotten home from China, where I had studied Oriental medicine, and I had moved from L.A., Santa Monica to be exact, to here in Portland. There were lots and lots of big disruptive changes.
Big life changes going on. So you attributed at least part of your health problems to those very things, the fact that you were moving, the fact that you'd made a big trip to China, and that in itself maybe demands a little exploration. Why did you decide to take a look at Eastern medicine at that point in your life? I had already graduated acupuncture school. I was a fully licensed acupuncturist in 3 different states, California, Oregon, and Washington. But I went to China because I wanted to study the particular approaches
they get it from the horse's mouth, so to speak.
So maybe before even you were suffering from these various symptoms, you already had an interest in alternative health, or what we might define as alternative health.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I was fully academically educated, and I emphasize academically educated some 25 years ago. So when this all happened, when my health caved and I was in this completely incapacitated condition, I had two options. The first option was to simply sort of struggle and go down. Forget about it. Death is near, accept my fate, and that was it. Or
really? You had become that fatalistic at that point?
I mean, when I say I was incapacitated, I am not exaggerating. I am not one who exaggerates.
Was there some wishful thinking going on, maybe just thinking that, well, if I rest and do some normal things that people do when their health is bad, it'll get better?
Well, I went beyond that. I took the second choice, and that was I went on a quest to try to find the answer to what was going on. Because when I did all of the Western medical tests, the blood tests, and the skin tests, and the saliva tests, and the stool tests, and the hair tests, and the urine tests, all of the chemical tests, very little showed up on the radar. I mean, there wasn't anything obvious, oh, you've got this, other than some anemia. So that's what all the fatigue, that's what the practitioner and ultimately practitioners attributed all of the fatigue to, was this anemia. But nobody could tell me why I was anemic, because my blood test didn't show. They thought it was simply vitamin deficiency, in particular vitamin B, B12. So I began a series of vitamin B12 shots, and my blood levels ultimately of vitamin B12 were 1,000% after these shots. But my symptoms didn't change
So
at
if
all.
you cut your finger, vitamin B12 would come out at that point?
Yeah, a big B.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And so, this sent me on a quest. I saw pretty much every kind of known and unknown practitioner that I could turn up.
So
I saw herbalists like myself, and acupuncturists like myself. I saw chiropractors and homeopaths, and I saw osteopaths, and I ran the gamut over 7.5 years. And during that time, what really seemed to be happening, no matter what intervention or therapy, what really seemed to be happening was that time sort of turned a little bit. I mean, I could see a little bit of positive change, but nothing dramatic, still quite compromised in terms of quality of life.
So let's be clear. In terms of your health, you weren't doing well, but these 7.5 years were very active years. You were a seeker. You were out there looking for ways to improve yourself. And eventually, I'm thinking you must have arrived at some conclusions.
Yes, and we're getting to those.
Very soon.
Very.
If you had problems like Paul, if you have problems like that right now, something more serious, something less serious, give us a call here on Health Matters at 503-417-9595. We'd like to hear from you. 503-417-9595.
This activeness was really encompassed by an overwhelming sort of inside instability. I mean, my heart still wasn't totally stable. It would still go out of rhythm, and my energy was still very much compromised.
Was this playing havoc with your mental health, too? Were you depressed at all or anything like that?
I ran the gamut. I mean, I was depressed. I was irritable. I was angry. I was, resigned. I mean, all up and down the map. So, happenstantially, and I would say that serendipitously, I like that word, I bumped into a a guy by the name of Dr. Freddie Ulan, who was teaching and demonstrating and applying something called nutrition response testing. Now, this was an approach that included muscle testing or applied kinesiology. And I was extremely skeptical of his work and his approach. I mean, if you, for all of you out there who are curious, go to my website at acunatural.com, and there's a little video of me demonstrating the nutrition response testing evaluation. And I was extremely skeptical. I was just, in my undergraduate work in college, I was a science guy. Show me the facts. I want to see it in black and white. I obtained a chemistry major and a mathematics minor, and so I was, this muscle testing thing I just wasn't buying it.
What about it struck you?
But I wasn't getting anywhere. My health was still extremely compromised, and because I was open, skeptical, but open, I was willing to make the decision to go ahead and participate in this. And having done so, having gone to Freddie and having him give me my own personalized nutritional healing program, within 2 weeks, I knew something dramatic had happened. Now,
that quickly?
Absolutely,
2 weeks?
Absolutely. Now, I was looking for any glimpse of improvement. I'm not talking about, miraculous turnaround and now I'm, the hustler, right? I'm talking about any change in my fundamental functional stability. And within 2 weeks, I saw that. Now, it took a number of years of my commitment to my own personal nutritional healing program, to where today, and we're talking about 18 years. Today, here I am, talking with you on 970 AM.
Here we are,
radio
on Health Matters with Paul Rosen,
and very, very energetic and very enthusiastic, and this is part of what I, as a healer myself, as a healthcare practitioner in the healing arts of acupuncture and nutrition and herbology, and in somewhat small way homeopathy, I discovered that there were other people like me.
And I also think that thumbnail version of how you got healthy doesn't do justice maybe to the amount of work you had to put into it, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was a commitment. I had to, I didn't have a lot of energy to share. I wasn't playing tennis anymore.
What habits did you have to change, and what practices did you have to undertake as part of this program to improve your health?
The emphasis is on personalized nutritional healing. So any of you who have ever utilized nutrition to try to help yourself with turning your quality of your life around, your health around, and have been discouraged, the reason is that you haven't had the benefit of someone who can actually provide you with a unique strategy which utilizes your own personal qualities and conditions, and then keeps you on track, gets you on track, and keeps you on track.
How dramatic were the dietary changes you had to make? Were you a guy who was shoveling down quarter pounders like croutons all week, or did you have to make more subtle adjustments?
No, I think the single biggest, I was already an alternative practitioner then, as I indicated. I was already an acupuncturist, and in fact, I had recognized the importance of nutrition going back, since I was a teenager. But I didn't realize how important it was to eliminate sugar from my diet. I didn't want to believe it. I mean, how is it possible that I can't have my mint chocolate chip ice cream, or my brownies, or my chocolate chip cookies, or my you name it. Whatever. I was a chocolate covered peanut guy for
you've
forever.
confessed to being a chocoholic, so
Absolutely.
That was kind of the first thing that had to change.
That was the biggest. You asked me the biggest change. That was the biggest thing I had to confront, was to eliminate sugar from my life. And I will tell you, folks, what I've learned in 18 years of clinical work, working with thousands of people with a huge variety of functional conditions, that if you're not ready to confront the elimination of concentrated sweetener from your diet, then you're not ready to get well. Now, I'm not saying that you have to, eliminate sugar upon arriving at my doorstep, although, of course, it would be completely 100% in your favor. But you do ultimately, at some point, have to confront the elimination of sugar from your diet. And for any of you who want to understand a little bit more why, you can go to my website, and there, I think you provide your, if I'm not mistaken, you provide your email address, and you can get for free a copy of the 75 different ways that sugar undermines your health that you're probably not aware of. And we don't share or sell or anything, personal information like that. We figure if you're interested, that you want to know more about what we're doing, and if you don't, you can always duck out. It's not a problem.